Sage, the prerequisite for getting a new boyfriend is breaking up with the old one. Lexi kicks my front door open, veins popping, total meltdown. I stare blankly. I followed your advice, she said. If a man acts wrong, get a new one. I took that literally. Bennett had the girl best friend attached to his hip, so I got Riker. Riker's phone was a roster of hot girls. Walking red flag, so I got Montgomery. Montgomery was still crying over the one that got away. Emotional baggage central. 3 duds. I'm currently scouting for number 4. Lexi is shaking. Why haven't you dumped any of them? I shrug. Which one do you want? I can spare one. I'm a simple girl. Growing up, I followed the script. Listen to mom and dad. Listen to Lexi. My life was nothing but scantrons and AP classes. But the year I got into university, I decided to go rogue. Challenge myself. Mission. Get a boyfriend. I have good genes, thanks, mom and dad, so I'm objectively pretty. But when it came to standards, I was clueless. Naturally, I consulted Lexi. She was checking her fit in the mirror, casually dropping wisdom like she was teaching a masterclass on toxic masculinity. Men are dogs, Sage. Treat them too well, and they get bored. She applied a layer of gloss. Best method? Treat them like dirt, then give them a cookie. Keep them guessing. And remember, never try to fix a man. If he's not acting right, just swap him out. Keep trading up until you're satisfied. I sat on the floor, notebook on my knees, nodding solemnly as I scribbled everything down. I thought I understood. Turns out, I missed a step. Just as I was prepping to trade up for model number 4, Bennett, boyfriend number 1, tracked me down. He didn't look happy. Sage, who the hell are those 2 other guys? And why are they walking around saying they're your boyfriend? Bennett was hot. That was Lexi's rule number 1. You have to date a hot guy, Sage. If he's ugly, you'll lose your appetite just looking at him. I took that to heart. I met Bennett during freshman orientation. He was the golden boy of our department, up on stage giving some inspirational speech about success. I was in the front row. While everyone else was mentally undressing him, I was actually taking notes. Apparently, that stood out. After the assembly, Bennett tracked me down and asked for my number. Then came the love bombing. He walked me to class. He walked me back to the dorms. Weekends were for shopping, movies, and expensive dinners. When I was stressed about exams, boba and snacks magically appeared. He even bought me a jewelry set that cost more than my tuition. For the first 18 years of my life, my existence was a flat line, dead water. Bennett was the stone that finally made a ripple. So when he asked me to be his girlfriend, I said yes. I just didn't expect him to come as a package deal. Enter Riley, the girl best friend. Whenever we went on a date, Riley would crash it. Uninvited, she'd drape her arm around Bennett's shoulders like one of the brothers, batting her eyelashes at me. The wifey doesn't mind, right? Ben and I have been tight for years. It's totally platonic. Bennett would just sigh, looking at her with indulgent eyes. Sage is reasonable. She's not the jealous type. She gets it. I just smiled, watching them. Her hand was on his chest. His arm was around her waist. I remembered what Lexi told me. Intimacy is for boyfriends and girlfriends. So, were they dating? And if they were dating, what was I? The side chick? For our 1-month anniversary, Bennett took me to the amusement park. It was actually fun. Mostly because his shadow, Riley, wasn't there. But the moment the sun went down and we headed for the Ferris wheel, my luck ran out. Like a rat crawling out of a sewer, there she was. Riley. She wore that loud, one of the guys, grin and immediately latched onto Bennett's arm. Ben, no way. You're here too? Bennett chuckled, looking pleasantly surprised. What are you doing here? You alone? Yeah, she said, her voice dripping with artificial sourness. You know how I am. I can't deal with other girls. Too much drama. And the boys were busy today. They stood there chatting like I didn't exist. I was just part of the scenery. A lamppost. Finally, Bennett remembered he had a girlfriend. He didn't look sorry. Sage, Riley's all alone. Why don't we let her tag along? Riley's eyes widened. Fake surprise. Oh my god, the wifey is here. I didn't even see you. She hissed through her teeth, a mock wince. You aren't mad, are you? Ben and I are just brothers honestly. You don't need to be jealous over every little thing. I hadn't said a word, yet somehow I was already the villain. I smiled, calm, unbothered. It's fine. I know you struggle to get along with other women. You can hang with us. Riley's face twitched. She caught the shade. Bennett? Completely over his head. He beamed at me, probably thinking I was the most understanding girlfriend on the planet. We got to the Ferris wheel. The pod's only seated 2. Riley didn't hesitate. She linked arms with Bennett and dragged him into a pod, chattering the whole time. Once they were seated, she looked back at me through the open door. A mask of apology. Oops, sorry, wifey. We were just deep in conversation. She slapped her forehead. Tell you what, you can ride with Ben next time, okay? Bennett looked torn for exactly 1 second. Don't be mad, Sage. I'll make it up to you after. The doors closed. The wheel began to turn, lifting them into the night sky. I watched them go. TSK. What a hassle. I didn't expect my first relationship to die this fast. I stood there, looking at the spinning wheel, and realized something. I didn't even like Bennett that much anymore. Lexi's voice looped in my head like a Spotify track. Don't try to change a man. If he's not acting right, replace him. So, I found the second one. After the amusement park disaster, I ghosted Bennett. I didn't block him. I just stopped existing in his direction. Instead, I let Lexi drag me to a club. It was my first time. The bass thumped in my chest, and the air smelled like expensive cologne and bad decisions. That was where I found number 2, Riker. He was beautiful. He stood on the small stage, a guitar slung over his shoulder, bathed in purple light. A halo of golden curls framed his face. When he sang, the girls in the front row screamed like they were at a stadium tour. Lexi sipped her drink, unimpressed. See that? That is the target. Pretty, talented, a trophy you can show off. I pulled out my mental notebook and scribbled that down. Unfortunately, the music was too loud, so I missed her next sentence. But guys like that? Only for fun. He belongs to the streets. When the set ended, I intercepted Riker before he could leave the stage. I asked for his number. He paused, looking me up and down. You look like a good girl. He laughed, a lazy, charming sound. What are you doing in a place like this? He had good instinct, but Lexi said love was mysterious. Why couldn't a good girl find love job in a dive bar. I got the number. I texted Riker every day. Good morning. Good night. It's cold. Wear a jacket. It's hot. Drink water. I didn't act like a girlfriend. I acted like a personal assistant. Or a mother. Riker, surprisingly, was into it. We started dating. I spent all my free time with him. Riker seemed to have infinite free time and infinite money. He covered all my expenses. His favorite hobby was dragging me to the mall and swiping his card. But there was a catch. Riker knew everyone, especially at the club. Whenever he walked me in, half the room high-fived him. The other half stared at me, and not all of those stares were friendly. Oh, look who's got a girlfriend. Vera. She had fire engine red hair and a cigarette between her fingers. She looked at me and exhaled a long, thin plume of smoke. Riker grinned, draping his arm heavy around my shoulders. What's wrong, Vera? You jealous? Vera rolled her eyes, but the corner of her mouth twitched up. Fuck off. If I were jealous of you, I'd have died of acidity poisoning years ago. Her gaze raked over me, sharp and assessing. She let out a scoff. A good girl? Seriously? Your taste has changed, Riker. Riker squeezed my shoulder. I got sick of the heavy, spicy junk food, he said, looking at her, then back at me. Figured I'd try a salad. Clean eating is good for you. He turned his smile on me. It didn't reach his eyes. Sage is great. She never gets jealous. Right, babe? I gave him the same smile I used on Bennett. Gentle, composed. Yeah, I'm glad you're so popular. Vera rolled her eyes. She shoved her phone under Riker's nose. My girls want your number. You adding them? Riker didn't move. He turned his head, locking eyes with me. What do you think, Sage? Should I add them? I paused. Lexi hadn't covered this scenario in the handbook. When I didn't understand the assignment, I usually just went with a vague default. I blinked. Sure, whatever you want. My face was a mask of perfect innocence. My tone was light, but for some reason, Riker looked like he wanted to punch a wall. His jaw tightened. He snatched his phone out, tapped the screen aggressively to add the contacts, and shoved it back in his pocket. Vera looked at me with even more disdain. She tossed her cigarette but on the floor and crushed it with her heel. And here I thought you found true love. Guess not. Riker didn't say a word. He drove me back to campus in a silence that was screaming for attention. I didn't get it, so I went to the Oracle. Lexi. She was squeezing into a microdress and fixing her lipstick. When I told her the story, she laughed so hard she almost smeared it. You idiot. That man is a walking red flag. You need to check his phone. ASAP. If he's trash, do not engage. Do not ask for closure. Just evacuate. She pressed her lips together to blend the color. Your time is luxury, Sage. Don't spend it on cheap men. She turned to me, dead serious. Sage, a man can be a bad boy, but he cannot be a piece of shit. There's a difference. You remember the rule? I nodded dutifully. If he's not acting right, replace him. Exactly. She sighed, relieved. Just don't get attached. Don't be a fool for love. If there's a glitch, you reboot. She really overestimated me. She even thinks I'm capable of being a simp. What a triumph. The next time Riker dragged me to the club, I went in with a mission. Lexi's instructions were running on a loop in my brain. Riker was a lightweight. Or maybe he just loved the attention too much to say no to a free shot. With a face like his, the drinks, and the girls throwing themselves at him, never stopped coming. Eventually, he got sloppy. While he was slurring his way through a conversation with a hot brunette at the next table, his arm draped heavily over her chair, I made my move. I swiped his phone off the table. His passcode was a joke. I might be clueless about romance, but I'm a genius at pattern recognition. I opened his DMs. I scrolled for 5 minutes. Then, very carefully, I slid the phone back onto the sticky table. Bleach. I need bleach for my eyes. The sheer volume of sexts, nudes, and cringy pickup lines was bottomless. The man wasn't just cheating. He was running a call center for side pieces. I finally understood Lexi's advice on a spiritual level. If he's trash, don't ask why. Just take out the garbage. We walked out of the club a few minutes later. The night air was cool. I tugged on Riker's sleeve before he could call an Uber. He stopped, swaying slightly, and looked down at me with glazed eyes. What's up? Look, if this is about inside, I was just being friendly. Don't be crazy. I nodded. Then, with the same tone I'd used to order a coffee, I said, Riker, I don't think we should hang out anymore. That sobered him up fast. His brows snapped together. What does that mean? Is this because I added that girl's number? Or because I was drinking with them? I shook my head. Explaining felt like too much work. I just don't like how you act. You do you. I'll do me. Besides, I hate this club. The acoustics are terrible. Riker let out a sharp, angry laugh. Are you serious, Sage? You met me in a club. We're all here to hook up and get wasted. Stop acting like a nun. Wow, Lexi was right. Trash really does stick to your shoe. Whatever you say. I didn't wait for a response. I flagged down a passing yellow cab, jumped in, and slammed the door. Relationship number 2, terminated. I sighed, watching the city lights blur past the window. A sense of loss washed over me. Now, where was I supposed to find number 3? Chapter 7. Maybe the universe was finally throwing me a bone. The senior girls organized a mixer, a karaoke night. I sat in the corner of the private room, clutching a soda bottle like a lifeline. My eyes scanned the room, filtering every man present through Lexi's rigorous checklist. Then, I saw him. He was holding the microphone. Tall, legs for days, face like a sculpture. Montgomery. I knew him. Or rather, I knew of him. On the way here, the girls couldn't stop whispering his name. He was campus royalty, but unlike the others, he was cold, distant. He didn't have a loud entourage, and crucially, he didn't have a gaggle of pick mes hanging off his neck. I did the math. No female best friend, Bennett's fatal flaw. No party boy reputation, Riker's fatal flaw. I decided to strike. But first, recon. I needed to be sure. For the entire night, I tracked Montgomery's movements like a federal agent. He sang. I watched. He went to the bathroom. I followed him to the hallway. He stepped out for fresh air. I lurked in the shadows. Apparently, my stealth mode needs work. He caught me outside the booth. He leaned against the wall, staring at me with zero expression. Is there a reason you've been tailing me all night? I grinned at him. You're really good looking. Can I have your number? Montgomery let out a short, dry laugh. Lots of people are good looking. You going to collect them all like Pokemon? That was actually a solid point. But I'd already collected two, and the return on investment had been terrible. I ignored his sarcasm and went straight to the vetting process. Do you have a girl best friend? Montgomery looked confused. He shook his head. No. Green flag. My smile widened. Do you like going to clubs and collecting random girls' phone numbers? No, he said, frowning now. What is this? An interrogation? I flashed him a dazzling, 8-tooth smile. I held up my phone, eyes shining with sincerity. Then you are exactly what I'm looking for.